Moin and welcome to Dolllynx. I know I always say this, but this video is going to be really special. Like, really special. Let me tell you. A while ago I received a message on Instagram from LOGAN.DOLLS if I'd be interested in making a video with one of his sculpts. So I looked at his work and fell instantly in love with the doll heads, so of course I said yes. It was a real tough decision which one I wanted to customize, but in the end I decided for Valentine, because I heard the other sculpt named Claudia was already chosen by another artist he asked. That artist was Moonlight Jewel, and a little later also KOSOMOLSKI dolls joined the group. We quickly decided to make a collab out of it and created a group chat to keep us updated. I already mentioned KOSOMOLSKI dolls a few times in my last video, so you guys know that we are friends and that I love her dolls. But I'll link her YouTube and Instagram again in the description for you to check out. Also, I'm pretty sure you guys know who Moonlight Jewel is. I mentioned her in one of my videos too, where I tried out one of her patterns from her book. She's an amazing artist and I'm really happy to get to know her better over this collab. Her Insta and YouTube will of course also be linked in the description. But let me talk a little more about Logan and the sculpt I chose for this collab, before we dive into the project. By the time he asked us for the collab, he had two different MSD-sized heads and one SD-sized head to offer. Since I only collect MSDs, it was a question of Valentine or Claudia, but in the end my love for fantasy won and I chose little Valentine. Lena and Elisa both chose Claudia, so check out their videos to see their beautiful creations. Since I'm always down for creating complete characters with stories and such, it was clear that I needed a body for the head too. Logan was so nice to help me with that. I bought a Dolllynx male body on DENVERDOLLS Emporium that he grabbed to cast my head with a good color mesh. And what can I say? He did an amazing job, it fits perfectly. And speaking of DENVERDOLLS, it's an official distributor of many different doll brands like Dolllynx, Fairyland and now also LOGAN.DOLLS. So if you want one of his hats, you can buy it at DENVERDOLLS or on his official website of course. The pre-order for V is already open and the one for Claudia comes very soon. At this moment he's also working on a complete doll body that I personally absolutely love and some new head sculpts. I will link all of his information in the description box too of course. Oh man, my intros get longer and longer each time. But I had so much to tell you. And now we can finally start with the project. So here's the cute little head named Valentine. It's actually a hand-sculpted head, so not made with a program like ZBrush or else, which is really impressive in my opinion. Another very cute detail is the sculpting inside the head cap. Every sculpt has another one. Primrose has a rose, V has a heart, and Claudia has a key. This specific head is technically a miscast because of this little dust particle in the resin. But Logan showed it to me and I really wanted exactly that head, because it looks like a little mole and made the head even more special to me. And here you can see the Dolllynx body I bought for him. Ain't that cute? And look at this perfect color match, it's flawless. I loved this little boy at first sight and I was extremely excited to customize him. But this time I decided to change the order a little bit. And instead of doing the outfit at last, I started with it. Again, I wasn't able to find any patterns for this body, so I improvised. Laid down some fabric around the doll and just sewed together. It's not the best method, I know, but the only way I can make clothes successfully at the moment. I came up with a little shirt and some pants that I decorated with some silver chains. It's all just luck and improvising and not having a plan, so let's go on. Originally I thought of leaving him bald because I loved his sculpt so much, but I wasn't able to think of a good way to hide the line of the head cap. So a wig cap was needed. This time I wanted to try out the sewing method I saw in Dollmotion's axolotl video. Spoiler, it's better than my last glued wig, but I did a lot of mistakes, so if you're interested in the exact process, check out Dollmotion's video, or wait for me to gain more experience. The basic idea is to have a stretch fabric around the head and attach a rubber band to it. After that you just sew on the wefts round by round till you reach the top, where you can make a row with the wefts that you sew on the last bold circle. You will probably end up with something beautiful like this, but no worries. Since there's no glue involved, you can tame it with boiling water. For that I made a ball out of aluminium foil on a stick to not get the head in contact with the boiling water. After that it's pretty easy to style with a flat iron or a hot knife, but the water itself is very great for setting the part line. I'm still pretty new to this whole wig making, so I'll explain my process in more detail once I figured it out for myself. For now, let's move on with the doll. Like always, the body is strung very loosely factory-wise, so I took it apart to restring it. The elastic inside was so thick that there was not really a way for me to insert wire in the joints, and I even passed on the hot glue sueding this time. From my fashion doll repaints, you guys are kinda used to me giving them all sorts of body mods. BJDs are really expensive, so giving them strong mods is not really an option for me. But, well, I couldn't resist to make some changes this time. A few weeks ago I borrowed a 3D resin printer from my cousin that I really wanted to try now. For this little boy I wanted to have a tail, and luckily I found something really useful on Thingiverse. This little BJD girl is from 7fish. I'll link it in the description. For my custom I only needed the tail, so I resized the pieces and printed them. After that worked, I was so hyped that I went on Etsy to search for more useful things and found a shop named 3D Printer Models Dolls, where I bought the file for a pair of hands and feet. I'll link it in the description too. The results were amazing, and without my initial intention, my little demon boy kinda turned into a dragon creature. Whoopsie! Here are his original hands and feet and the new ones I printed. Look at those details, they even had little scales and movable toes. But there were still little leftover structures from the printing process that needed to go. For that I took my little Dremel and smoothed out all the pieces. When that was done, I had to do one very scary thing. Like I said, BJDs are expensive, but I needed some sort of mechanism to attach the new tail to the body, so I had to make a hole in the resin. It was an interesting experience, but lucky me it all went fine. After sanding, the hands and feet still needed some attention. As you can see, they have a hole in the ball joint, but nothing for the elastic, or better the S-hook, to hold on to. So I took some wire and my strong 2-part epoxy glue to change that. Here you can see all the printed and sanded pieces again. Don't they already look amazing? But that was of course not enough for me. I needed color. Or to be more precise, a dyed color gradient. After all this making a hole in this expensive body, the worst part was already done. I have to say, it was pretty successful, especially for my very first resin dyeing. Some pieces though took the dye a little strange, and the first layer of resin cracked. It only happened to the printed pieces and only on some, so I don't know why this happened. I had them all in the dye at the same time, so it can't be because of the heat. Maybe it had something to do with the curing. Anyway, it was not that much of a deal because I just sanded them smooth again. After that I took my lovely little airbrush and sprayed all the pieces with a few layers of liquitex matte medium to be able to paint them. First step was to cover up the sanding imperfections by painting all the pieces again with some pearl blue gouache paint. For the leg and arm pieces I started blushing them with my Rembrandt soft pastels to make the gradient a little better. One more layer of matte medium to protect the colors, and I went in with some dry brushing, a lighter pearl color with which I also painted the nails. The last thing I did was to paint some gills on the ribcage to emphasize his aquatic heritage. When I was satisfied and all the paint was dry, I sprayed the pieces with 2 protection layers of liquitex matte varnish. And then it was finally time for the face up. Actually, I did not really have a plan, just a very rough idea and the guidance of blue everywhere. So I started with some light blue blushing around the eyes and ears. Then I took some browns for his little horns and some more blushing around his nose. For his lips I was really unsure if I should use blues too, because it's easy to look like lipstick, what I did not want. But I just jumped into it and I don't regret it, so success! After one more layer of sealant I intensified all the blushing and took my micro glitter. Since he's a water creature, I thought some overall glitter would look pretty nice. When I was happy with the result, I switched to my gouache paints and started painting around his eyes. This time I decided against the black eyeliner and went with white and a teal color instead. I used the same teal color for his lips and the white for his little teeth. I did not want to give him lashes, but there was still something missing around his eyes and his forehead, so I spontaneously decided to paint him some scales with the same pearl blue gouache color I used for his hands and feet. And with that, his face up was done too. I enjoyed painting his face so much, and I also had many ideas what to change to give him a completely different look. So it may be possible that there will be another V-sculpt in the future on this channel. Painting BJDs makes me incredibly happy, and I hope I can transfer this kind of joy to the fashion dolls too. Here you can see the finished face up again. I'm really happy with the result, since I'm not painting males very often, and even though he's supposed to look a little more childish, it's still a male character, and I'm proud. For some last finishing touches, I gave his teeth, lips and eyes a treatment with high gloss varnish to make him look a little more lifelike. And last but not least, he needed some eyes. Those of you who follow me on Patreon already saw all the eyes I made for this collab, and everyone guessing was right that I kept the blue ones for my project. I also tried to make the pupil a little more like a slit instead of perfectly round. Since these eye molds are not as deep as the ones from House, for example, I needed a little more putty to place the eyes inside the head, but it's still way easier than on fashion dolls. I really love him. To put him all back together, I switched again to the floor with a soft and plushy blanket. If you're interested in a more detailed explanation on how to restring your doll, I recommend Lena's video about that. I already talked about it in my last video. The most interesting part of this specific doll now was probably the tail. I threaded all the pieces on an elastic and took it through the hole I made in the body. After that I pulled as much as I could and tried to make it knot as close to the hole as possible. To secure it even more, I also inserted a wire between the two elastic strands to prevent it from flipping through the hole out of the body. Here you can see that I still strung it too loose and I redid it afterwards off camera, and now it holds perfectly any pose. Now we have everything done and can put all the pieces together. Sadly, I had to switch his feet back to his factory ones because he wasn't able to stand on the new ones. But I dyed them, so it's not that bad. After dressing him up, I put his head back on and gave him his wig. Even though I still like the idea of him being a bald character, I'm also happy with his wig. I only go with extremes, either no hair or the longest. He's such a cutie and his look fits perfectly for the character I had in mind for him. His name will be Levantes, but he calls himself Sky, and he lives of course in my doll universe, on the magic side of the wall. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I would recommend you watching my last BGD video with Cordelia, where I shortly explained my world again. But now on to Sky's story. Levantes, or Sky as he calls himself, is an ushke, an amphibious creature living at the magic lands called Mogra. His species mainly lives underwater, but can also survive on land as long as they drink enough water. They are organized in a monarchy with one king and one queen, and they lay eggs instead of giving birth like mammals. That's why there's no existing construct like a family. Everyone has its own specific task in society. As for the succession to the throne, it's always a couple built from one of the children of the current monarch and one of the folk. Sky is one of the hundreds of children from the monarch, so his chances to become the next ruler are pretty low. But that's not stopping him from acting like a real prince and as if he's something really special. Most people just ignore his behavior because he's still very young and mostly up on land, which is pretty unusual for an ushke. Sky is secretly very interested in humans, and even though he's way too scared to show himself to the fishermen he always spies on at Eben's coast, he always acts up like the most brave. The humans are also responsible for the name sky he gave himself, because he often heard the fishermen talk about the sky as a strong and godlike power that decides whether they go sailing or not. That really seemed appropriate for a prince like him, and sounded much cooler than Levante's. If you know, ask yourself how he's connected to Cordelia, since I said all my BJDs are connected in some way, I have to disappoint you, because that's a story for another video. I really hope you like my little boy and his story. I absolutely love him, and I'm so happy that my doll universe is growing and growing. One of you suggested to use a world building website to get track of all the information, and I really think this is a great idea. The one I now found has different options, and some of them do cost some money, but they give the opportunity to have exclusive content and such. I'm currently thinking what option might be the best, because I thought it could be really funny to give my patrons the possibility to add like plants or animal creatures that live in the magic lands, or even create their own characters living in this world or something. And of course to have a cool overview with maps and detailed information on all the species and characters for free. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm just really excited about all the possibilities we have, and I'd like to include you a little more. But coming back to the video, I really want to thank Logan Dolls again for this awesome possibility to customize one of his amazing sculpts. It was such a pleasure, and I'm so happy to have Sky in my collection now. I really do have a feeling that he will not stay the only Logan doll sculpt I own. Also a huge thank you to Lena from KOSOMOLSKI Dolls and Elisa from MOONLIGHT to collab with me. It was so much fun, and I'm so happy that we're friends. Please check out their videos too. They both did an amazing job on painting the Claudia sculpt, and even though it's the same sculpt, they look completely different from each other. Last but not least, of course, a giant mega hyper thank you to you, my little lynxes, for watching this video, for all your lovely comments, your support, and the joy we are able to share here. Have a wonderful day. See you soon. Tschüss!